Hello, my name is Eamonn Forde. I have just written a book called Leaving the Building, The Lucrative Afterlife of Music Estates, and it's out on Omnibus on the 19th of August. And very briefly, it is about the business of death in music, about how the estates of musicians are run or not run, and all the different parts associated with that to keep artists earning money, but also keeping them culturally relevant after they die. Hi, I'm going to be reading some very short and pithy quotes from people that I interviewed for the book. I interviewed a lot of people across all different parts of music estates, and I'm going to be picking a few illustrative quotes that explain a little bit about certain parts of the estate's business and how it all works. Here is a quote from Kelly Callum, who runs the Nick Drake estate, in which he talks about the repeated requests that the estate has had to make a biopic about Nick Drake and why the estate has chosen not to work with any of them. So he says, to make a film, however lucrative that would be, both as a film and as a way of selling back catalogue, would kill something that would be unforgivable in my book. And that kind of relates to the wider approach that the Nick Drake estate has taken, which is to be very subtle and not to kind of take a sledgehammer approach to market Nick Drake to newer audiences. Another thing Kelly Callum told me was that they want people to feel that they've discovered Nick Drake for themselves. So they want this kind of very subtle reintroduction of Nick Drake to different generations of fans. And I think that the main problem is that Nick didn't really perform live because he had lots of issues with performing live, and also there is no video footage of him out there, so there's going to be a lot of presumptions about how he kind of behaved, his mannerisms, all of these kinds of things. And I think the estate just feels that it's quite crass because it will paint Nick in a particular way. There's going to be a particular narrative around him, and they don't want that. They want people to kind of impose their own interpretations of Nick through his music. So that's an example of an estate that could potentially have a successful biopic around an artist, but they also feel that what that does is constrain what that artist is about. So that's their reason for not doing it. This next quote is from Linda Ramone, who is the widow of Johnny Ramone, guitarist in the Ramones, obviously, and she runs 50% of Ramone's productions with Joey's brother, Mikey. And she was talking about her love and Johnny's love of just products, any kind of merchandise, because they were big collectors themselves. And I just interviewed her. They'd just done a deal with Happy Socks to do Johnny Ramone Happy Socks. She loves bobblehead dolls, all manner of kind of pop culture trash items that you would associate with the Ramones anyway. So this quote is about her reasoning for doing that. So she said, I love doing products because Johnny and me were collectors. I think it's great to keep putting out products, and if people don't want to buy them, they just don't buy them. And it's a very open and honest approach. She said, like, we'll make these products. If the fans want to buy them, they buy them. We're not forcing them to. We feel that they represent what the Ramones were about. Other people may obviously disagree, but there's a lot of importance in this in terms of what estates do. Obviously, there's the importance of the T-shirt business with the Ramones, but you have to kind of go into other products as well, particularly if you want to be that kind of artist, because the Ramones records are hugely important, but didn't sell a huge amount. So the revenues from the recorded side of the Ramones is not going to be great, but it's all the ancillary stuff. And this kind of goes into a wider point about estate marketing and about rights and about what is finite and what's infinite. So the sound recording rights and the song composition rights eventually will fall into the public domain, so which means that the estate will have no control over them. There's obviously many, many years down the line. But the one thing that estates have that is completely impervious to that are trademarks. When they trademark a name or even an image, And as long as they maintain and actively work that trademark, it can last in perpetuity. For example, the Miles Davis estate has trademarked things like Bitches Brew. They also trademarked the silhouette of Miles Davis playing the trumpet. So these are things that they can then use and license and protect and make money from. And this can last forever as long as they keep it active, whereas everything else around an estate, the recordings, the song compositions, even the name and image and likeness rights, eventually will go into the public domain. So it's a battle against time for estates. But if they have a very clear trademark policy, then that's the thing that can be handed down generation after generation. It's also the thing that they can control, because if the music goes into the public domain, they can't control that anymore, but they can with trademarks. So this quote is from Celeste Bell, who is the daughter of Polystyrene from X-Ray Specs. She was also an artist alongside being a musician. And this is Celeste talking about what was eventually to become I'm a Cliche, the documentary about her mother, which came out in early 2020. When I spoke to her, she was still working on the project and finalising funding and so forth for it. But I spoke to her about what she wanted to do with this. So she said, I was always determined to be really open, warts and all. But at the same time, what's really important for me, more than anything else, is giving my mother the respect she deserves and making a film she would be happy with. And that's an important thing for particularly smaller estates, because certain artists can become forgotten, or the breadth of what they did becomes forgotten. So something like a documentary can come in and shine a new light on what they did, but also things that people might not be familiar with. So the I'm a Cliche documentary obviously talks a lot about her music, but it also talks about her art, about her politics, about all of the things that she held dear. And it's a really great insight into this person who was more than just the singer in X-Ray Specs. And that was very much the thing that Celeste wanted to do, which was to show all of the different sides to her mother. And there are bits of it that are unflinching. She talks about a lot of the family problems that they had, and sometimes the strained relationship she had with her mother, which is a very difficult thing to do. And it's a rare thing as well, because sometimes estates want to sanitize the artists. They want to kind of deify them. You can see that, for example, in how the John Lennon estate has turned him into this kind of saintly figure. And he was obviously a very complicated, occasionally violent man who wasn't all peace and love, and imagine there's no possessions. But something like the Polystyrene documentary just goes in and just says, here's everything about her, here are the contradictions, here's the complexities, but also, and crucially, here's everything that made her great and important. And I think for an artist like that, who is, in the grand scheme of estates, it's quite a small estate, but I think it's important what Celeste Bell was trying to do, which was to show the breadth and the complexity of her mother's career. So, leaving the building, The Lucrative Afterlife of Music Estates is out on Omnibus Press on the 19th of August, 2021, of course. This is a big book, as you can see. Lots and lots of typing in there. I typed all of those words myself. There's lots of footnotes. For fans of footnotes, you will be in hog heaven. But it's a fascinating part of the music business, even if I say so myself. But nobody had really looked at it in depth in all of the different parts that make up the estates business. So that's why I went and spoke to lots of people who work and run estates about what it is they do, and why they think what they do is valuable, and how it shapes the legacies of artists who are no longer around to shape their own legacies. So out on the 19th of August, and you can buy it where you buy books.